Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on this Wednesday evening, July the 24th, the first day of Tennessee Titans training camp practice on the field. We got a lot to talk about. We got several takeaways, but in particular, Jeff Simmons made a bold statement about his standing with the Titans at his post-practice media availability. You will hear from Jeff Simmons. You will hear from Jamal Adams, and we're looking forward to those discussions, or you playing for you a portion of those discussions here in just a little while. We are going to get your feedback on how you're feeling ahead of training camp and basically who you feel like is the face of this franchise as it gets ready to enter a new era and another season as the Tennessee Titans. So we'll go through those things together and we'll look forward to your feedback on them. We will also do a little bit of rising and falling at the end of the show. Whose stock rose, whose stock fell this week in sports. Amar says, spill the beans, Buck. Tell us everything you saw. Well, I did see a fair amount at Titans training camp practice today. I saw Will Levis complete one of the best passes, throw one of the best touch passes to Nick Westbrook-Ikhine I think I've ever seen him throw in his career. We had a great conversation with Taj Spears. I'll play a portion of that for you at the end of the program as well on the radio show, because, of course, we are having conversations with players every day out there at the facility as we're doing our radio show from training camp. Today, Taj Spears. Tomorrow, Amani Hooker. Since you guys can't get enough of safety conversation, we figured we'd talk to the top safety on the team and see if he can't fill you in on some pieces and parts that may help you understand what they're trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish there in the back end, and how they continue to add things. B Friend says, Buck, did you know Uber Eats delivers alcohol now? Woo! Well, I assume that B French has pregame the show, so we better not keep him waiting before he gets too drunk and he can't make coherent comments. Or we let him get drunk and make all kind of reckless comments and just point and laugh at him together. We can do these things. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time from the Zen Sports Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising. I'm proud, as always, to be presented to you by the wonderful people at Zen Sports. Download the app, plug in the promo code ATOZTN, get all of the great odds boosts and promo bets that they have to offer at Zen Sports. Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer, is Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. They are the best in the business. In fact, they are going to give my car the works tomorrow, courtesy of their top-notch service department, Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. And, of course, TrueMav Fitness in the Gulch. Your first workout is free. No workout ever recycled or repeated, courtesy of the great people at TrueMav Fitness. Titans camp day one in the books. Saw a handful of things, including some sloppiness on offense, some shit-talking on defense. DeAndre Hopkins going at Jeff and Tavondre Sweat and L'Jarius Sneed practicing. Saw a couple of guys in the backfield today causing problems, forced a Tony Pollard fumble that he was able to recover. But I thought it was a pretty evenly matched day from both sides, just in terms of training camp observations. Thought it was very fast-paced, the practice today. Thought they hit the ground running, came out with a degree of urgency that you expect and that you hope to see on the opening day of training camp, an increased level of urgency from what you saw in the offseason program. Sometimes that's the case, sometimes it's not. But on this particular first day of training camp, the team looked like they were ready to rock. Now, what will they look like in 2 weeks, a month, 6 weeks from now? As training camp wears on you, wears on your mind, wears on your body, wears on your patience, and all manner of other things, we will just have to wait and find out. But beyond the on-field stuff, we talked to a lot of different players today. We talked to Sweat. We talked to Simmons. We talked to Jamal Adams, Will Levis, J.C. Latham. I had Taj Spears on the radio show, and we caught up with him for a good 20 minutes. And in all the different media availability that we had afterwards with the practice, Jeff Simmons got to the podium and with a lot more command than I'm used to seeing from Jeff, gave some interesting comments on how he views himself and how he views his opportunity to kind of step into the void that Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill, Mike Vrabel, and that last generation of Titans football players and coaches have kind of left as they enter this new era of Titans football. So the question I want to ask you, your Two Rivers Ford take, is this on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and on Twitch. Who is the face of the Titans franchise in 2024? Who do you believe carries the torch for Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel, who were very much the faces of the franchise because that's what the organization dumped all their marketing in? Derrick, obviously, a Hall of Fame caliber player. Mike Vrabel kind of embodying the toughness, the mentality that the Titans as an organization have tried to project in the last couple of years. They poured a ton of marketing and promotional material into Derrick Henry and Mike Vrabel, and those being the faces of your franchise for the past 6 seasons. So, in the absence of those two individuals, the two people who are most associated with the Titans, who now enters that void? In the comment section, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, it's your Two Rivers Ford take. As always, it is made possible by the South's most trusted Ford dealer. The South's most trusted Ford dealer is Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet. Quality American-made Ford vehicles, award-winning customer service is what they offer. I speak from personal experience myself because, of course, I'm a Two Rivers Ford customer. So is DeAndre Hopkins. So is Coach Dave McGinnis of Titans Radio, Ramon Foster, Don Davenport, and so many other millions of Middle Tennesseans that have been satisfied customers at Two Rivers Ford in Mount Juliet or online at tworiversford.com. So who is the face of the franchise right now? Who will be the person that they throw up on the graphic when they're promoting Titans Bears week 1? Will it be Caleb Williams on the I don't know which broadcast network has the first game of the season. I should probably know that by now, but let's just assume it's CBS. Will CBS's promotional material be Jeff Simmons on one side and Caleb Williams on the other? Makes a lot of sense. Jeff Simmons making the rounds this offseason. We played for you a couple of times that clip from the Rich Eisen show where he brings up painted nails and is not really jawing at Caleb Williams, but is kind of creating some fun banter, some fun back and forth. Fox has it, says Maserati Mac. I appreciate that. So on the Fox promotional graphic, Caleb Williams and Jeff Simmons, Caleb Williams and Will Levis, Caleb Williams, DeAndre Hopkins. Who's the face of the franchise right now? I think it's a pretty interesting discussion. Rashid says he would rather the Titans be the villain than the hero. I'm not entirely sure. I guess I don't really understand the context. So you would rather them play spoiler as opposed to being a team that's favored throughout the course of the season? I remember, if that's the case, Rashid, and I'm not sure the context, so if I've taken you out of context, please correct me. But I remember Kevin Byard making a comment a couple of years ago. I think this was the 2022 season before they went to Buffalo on Monday night and got slaughtered 42-7. I remember Byard making a comment about the idea of preferring to be the hunter than the hunted, right? They would rather be the underdog than the favorite. And I remember hearing that. And listen, I have a lot of respect for Kevin Byard, the person, the player, the professional. I really enjoyed my time covering KB. But I remember hearing him say that, playing those comments on the radio show and thinking, what a loser mentality that is. You've been to an AFC championship game. You've beaten Josh Allen. You've beaten Patrick Mahomes. You've beaten Lamar Jackson, Tom Brady, and all manner of other high-level players. Why would you prefer to be the hunter than the hunted? Why do you balk at being the favorite in that situation, the front runner? Why wouldn't you want to be leading from the front and having other teams trying to knock you off? Why wouldn't you want to carry yourself that way? And understanding what Puka is saying here, underdog Titan teams were the most successful, were always the most successful, and that's fine. Perhaps it feeds into the mentality that way. I don't fault them for that, I guess, but I just remember hearing it and thinking, I'm so tired. I'm so tired of hearing the Titans talk about themselves consistently at underdogs when at that point in 2022, they were coming off, obviously, the embarrassment of the Bengals playoff loss. but they were the number one overall seed that previous season. This was week 2. They had been hugely successful in 2020 and in 2019. So I just kind of, when we came into another season of them talking about themselves with this underdog mentality bullshit, I'm just like, well, you should be. You have been one of the top teams in the AFC. Stop carrying yourself that way. Anyway, long story short, Jeff Simmons, Will Levis. It's probably between those two. And Will Levis hasn't yet arrived. So I think in the case of the face of the franchise discussion, most people would probably say Jeff Simmons. And Jeff Simmons is outwardly projecting, hey, I'm ready to carry that role.
I want to say I go back a couple years ago, like when I first got here, I had guys like Jarrell Casey, even Daquan, Wesley Woodyard, all them guys who I was, they always, when you becoming a leader, you have to know when to follow. And I think as I was growing, especially through that my first year as a rookie, I was learning a lot from them guys. And I want to say probably like going into my second year and then really my third year where I really felt like, this was my team. I've been feeling that way. As y'all know, like on Sundays, I break the huddle down. That's something I take pride in. But as when you grow and trying to grow as a leader, you want that responsibility because it's not. I guess what I want to say when you first looking at it, when you come into the building, it's about you. How you are approaching the day. When you had a bad day of practice, you had a bad rep. Guys looking at your body language. And then one thing I talked to the defense about at the practice is just body language. And like I said, I take full responsibility of it. I love it. I love challenges. But at the end of the day, I've felt like this is my team. I don't try to do more or less of my job. But I also been feeling like I was a leader. I've been feeling that. But like I said, I saw what Rand said, just the interview he had. But at the end of the day, I take responsibility of the team. And just like, I'm going to stand up for my guys, no matter what it is, holding them accountable, having their back, whatever it may be. But like I said, we all trying to get to one goal. We all have, it's a lot of leaders in this building. I hope they're not always putting it on me. I'm looking for my other teammates to step up, even when I'm doing something wrong, or my body language, or anything in that nature. So I'm excited just to take on a bigger role, if you want to call it that. But at the end of the day, I've been feeling like I've had that role in the team.
So that's Jeff Simmons speaking at the podium with us earlier today. A to Z Sports Prime Time is presented by the great people at TrueMath Fitness in the Gulch. TrueMathFitness.com. Your first workout there is free. As a Middle Tennessee resident, get in shape as the summer carries on, as the winter and fall months get closer. It's still important to maintain your physical fitness. It's something that certainly I've had to learn as I've gotten older, how important physical fitness is to my energy levels, to my productivity. I would not be able, if I was still 250 pounds, looking slovenly the way that I used to with you guys, sitting down during the pandemic because we're all inside and I was eating too much Uber Eats and all kinds of other things, I wouldn't be able to do my job anymore. I wouldn't have great energy coming in here for prime time. I'd struggle covering an NFL football team because you don't have conventional hours and you have to have a certain level of energy and focus to those things. TrueMath Fitness has helped me not just maintain my weight, get back to a healthy weight of about 205, between 210, 205, depending on the day, depending on the meal, depending on the weekend, but still help me lose 48 pounds and help me regain control over my life. It has been a world of difference. TrueMathFitness.com for your first workout free as a Middle Tennessee resident. Curator says 250. Goddamn. Yes, correct. That is the appropriate response. My fat ass waddled in here at 250 pounds. Listen, I'm 6'2", so like I can carry it okay. But if you go back and look at some primetime shows from 2021, your boy was struggling. Shout out TrueMath Fitness for getting me right. And helping me regain a little bit of that focus and physical fitness. So, hearing Jeff Simmons talk about the idea of, at the end of the day, I've felt like this is my team, that he owns it, that he embraces it, that he continues to work as a leader and kind of understand the dynamics. I like the way that he phrases phrased it, if you're going to be a leader, you first have to understand how to follow. And I've always found that dynamic pretty interesting. I've always found that dynamic pretty interesting with quarterbacks, for example, right? Quarterbacks are supposed to be leader of men, field general, all these kind of things, but they're also supposed to be submissive to an extent when it comes to their coaching, when it comes to deferring blame from their teammates and owning that responsibility, right? They have to play both sides of that kind of leadership dynamic. And I like that Jeff understands it, articulates it, and owns it as trying to be and as the most associated person with this football franchise. He's if Levis hits, Levis will be the face of the Tennessee Titans. An interior defensive lineman is never going to out Q rating a quarterback, right? But Jeff can be that person as they bridge that gap, as Levis comes into his own, potentially, and can be the face of the franchise the way that Jarrell Casey had to be for several years. I think that there is, Jake Barr says, Jeff is the big dog. Well, he's big, and certainly he is a dog out there, and he is somebody who I think holds a lot of respect in the eyes of his teammates. I've talked about the media tweet and all these other things, ancillary stuff, right? As long as he's respected by his teammates, his coaches, as long as he continues to be a good human being, a good citizen, the way that he has been, and continues to be a certified ass kicker, because that's what he is as a football player, then the rest of the stuff will come in line, right? And, he'll grow out of reading his mentions too much and stuff like that, the way that I think, maybe I was a little hard on him about the media tweets and stuff like that. But I just, I think there's so many other things that Jeff Simmons should be focused on, like football, like leadership, other than how he's covered, right? That was only my point with all of that stuff. It should just be the best, most dominant player. The best, most dominant player on this football team is in all likelihood Jeff Simmons. But I mean, you can make the argument that L'Jarius Sneed is better at what he does than Jeff Simmons is at what he does. Though they both came in fourth place on the ESPN top 10 of their respective positional rankings. Sneed was fourth on the corners list, and Jeff was fourth on the defensive lineman list. Okay, so let's talk about safeties. Since we have a safety on the radio show tomorrow, like I said, Taj Spears was a great interview today. In fact, Bert, if you could do me the courtesy of dropping the Spears YouTube link in the chat for people who may be interested in going back and watching our conversation with Taj Spears later on after the primetime show concludes. We'll play you a portion of that before the show ends tonight. But tomorrow, Amani Hooker. So, in the vein of safety discussion, what will Jamal Adams' role with the Titans be? Because he did speak for the first time today. Well, I guess he did an official Titans podcast the day that he was signed, which never happens that way, and then gave a press conference today. But this is the first time that we, as the collective Titans media, have been able to talk to Jamal Adams. So what do you think Jamal Adams' role will be within the Titans defense? We will discuss at length together right after I remind you that the primetime program is presented by Zen Sports. Download the app, bet on baseball, bet on the upcoming football season. College football not that far away. We are a month and change away from college football getting started. Zen Sports is where betting just gets better. Promo code ATOZTN. Unlock up to $100 on your no danger first wager. Terms and conditions do apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Must be 21 plus and in the state of Tennessee to bet at Zen Sports. So, what will Jamal Adams' role be with the Titans defense? Bryce Erickson says what his nickname is, Blitz Boy. Rashid Jenkins just says hybrid. Wesley Bates, defensive back, linebacker, a hybrid. Eric Alonzo says enforcer of the secondary. Well, I think he can be all of those things, right? I would answer D, all of the above. Jason Garrett says the Roman safety. It means he'll be the one moving around. You mean roaming? not roam in as in the Roman Empire, right? You mean roaming? Football people call that the box safety, but if you want to come up with your own position, Roman safety, gladiator safety, right? Or something like that. I think you meant roaming, though. I'm sure autocorrect got you there. Auto check. Yes, that's what he meant. Okay, very good. So Jamal Adams spoke to the media today. He spoke on his role, which is the first time that we've heard him talk at any extended length in front of us or with us, asking him questions directly.
Continue the main thing, obviously, is my teammates. You know what I mean? Just proving to them that I can, be on the field with them again and, go out there and just compete. That's what it's about.
Coach Callahan said that he kind of envisions, for lack of a better term, a utility role for you, being in a lot of different sub packages and things like that. How much do you embrace that at this juncture of your career?
I'm gonna take it on. Obviously, it's never easy to come in and learn a new system, but I'm willing to. Every day is a grind, and every day I'm in my playbook just learning. Obviously, I'm out there just flying around and just trying to keep up with the guys, and I'm gonna have mistakes. I'm not perfect, and I'm not trying to be. So when I'm out there and I have a mistake or two, obviously I just learn from it and I move on.
Old Blitz boy Jamal Adams talking at the podium today. So we've talked about it before. We've discussed. We've played you. I think. Well, no, we might not have played you Greg Cosell audio. That was last week's discussion with Greg, because that was, I don't know, a couple of days removed from the Jamal Adams signing. So Greg and I discussed the idea of a nickel linebacker, box safety, situational blitzer type of player, the way that many of you have described. So it's good that he's embracing it. He has the right attitude. His interviews after a loss is already a positive sign, says David Lee. What do you mean after a loss? I'm confused. Are you talking about you went back and watched other press conferences of Jamal Adams after a loss or something like that? That would be very, very specific, David, if that's how you were doing your research. But I don't necessarily understand. Maybe just you meant his interviews in general, because he's a very transparent individual. And, for being only 28 years old, the guy has seen a lot of different situations, has seen a lot of different things happen to him across the course of his career. And, you don't want to see somebody have the fall from grace in order to kind of build themselves back up. But I do think that there is something to the idea of a redemption opportunity, of a change of scenery, of just, feeling right for the first time in quite some time, because that's been his biggest issue. His body has failed him, and that has clearly affected his play with at the end of his Jets tenure, and then for the bulk of his Seahawks career. David says, when the Titans lose the locker room leadership, his interviews. So I guess when the Titans lose the locker room leadership, his interviews after a loss is already a positive sign. Yeah, forgive me, David. I'm still not understanding what you're trying to get across there. But the Titans have had a bit of a leadership vacuum, right? When Delaney, Jarrell, Lawan, Woodyard, Kern, Derek, now all of those guys have turned over. There is kind of a void there, and it's felt a little wonky in the last couple of years with just like who speaks for the team here, who truly speaks for the team. And Derek did speak for the team more often than not, but you guys know Derrick Henry well at this point. He's not the most extroverted individual, and as far as he leads with his play as opposed to with his voice, even though his voice does have an impact when he chooses to use it. So that's been kind of the thing that it felt like the Titans locker room has lacked in a couple of years. Not that you need extroverted personalities to lead, but it does seem like there is an abundance of them now. Ridley, Latham, Spears, who else? Levis, I think, has an extroverted personality to an extent to kind of, bring up that vocal element that may not outright be necessary, but I do think at some points can be required to just grab the attention of a bunch. It's just like if any of you were teachers or educators or something like that, dealing with high schoolers or grade schoolers or whatever the case may be. This is basically college kids. You know how hard it is to get a bunch of 20 to 29-year-olds attention all at once, all at the same time, all working towards the same goal. You have to be able to command attention, command the room. It's why guys like Mike Vrabel and Dan Campbell have success. Harbaugh have success to an extent because they can captivate you for a period of time. Now, does it have an expiration? Certainly, and you have to find ways to keep it fresh. Even the best coaches, Bill Belichick, Pete Carroll, their message can become stale if they've been doing the same thing year after year, time after time, over and over again. It can run its course that way. But I do think that there is a lot of that to be had in this new look Titans team, and I do think that that is a net positive. At least in the early going. We'll see what happens when they're faced with some adversity. They lose a game and maybe they won't be as vocal, but we'll talk about it then. Rising and falling. Whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week in sports? Let's talk about it together. We will do so. We'll read your submissions. I'll give you one of my submissions right after I remind you that the Primetime program is made possible by the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage. Don't sell without the intel. Get your dream address without the stress at GaryAshton.com. Can I just say, by the way, also we love Gary. We appreciate all the great things that the Ashton Real Estate team does, not just for real estate, people who are interested in real estate, but also for the Middle Tennessee community. Ad Hole, the official real estate agent of the Nashville Predators, is GaryAshton.com. But can I just say, it is so damn good to be talking about actual football practice again. Oh, it's like a war. It's like a heated blanket, like a heated weighted blanket, wrapping me in its embrace of football season, of actual content, and of actual conversations, football plays that can be broken down, mistakes that can be made and discussed, guys achieving at the highest level, just high-level athletes out there performing and watching the coaches work their way through this formative phase. It's really, really good to have it back. I know you guys are excited because you're tired of hearing me talk about bullshit the way that we, have to do during the summer months when there is no football. But God bless, it is good to have football back in our lives, and I'm ready to get going with preseason games. I'm looking forward to seeing a bunch of you at the I assume that many of you are going to be at the open practice at Nissan Stadium on Saturday. I'll obviously be out there for the duration of it. So if you're hanging out in the stands, make sure you bring sunscreen and are properly hydrated, not just with beer or with liquor, but with water and electrolytes. Make sure you're safe. But yeah, if you guys are hanging out there, make sure you shout me out. It's always good to see you, and certainly good to get back into the swing of things with fans back at training camp practices, open practices at Nissan Stadium, and in the not too distant future, preseason games around the corner. Lewis says, we like your stories, Buckmaster. Well, I do appreciate you, Lou. It's good to have you guys consistently in here, and good to be able to, good. Nice to know that somebody cares about the things that you have to say from time to time. Because even me with my self-inflated ego and, every once in a while, you wonder if your message is getting stale, like a coach that's been doing this too long. Anyway, rising and falling. Whose stock rose? Whose stock fell this week in sports? Tell me about it in the comments section. I am buying stock up in all the contract holdouts that are going around training camps right now, including one big holdout with the Dallas Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb is not participating in camp right now as he awaits a new deal.
CeeDee Lamb, officially a holdout. All of his teammates flew to Oxnard, or some in the case of Dak Prescott, drove to Oxnard. CeeDee Lamb not among them, not showing up at training camp, just like he did for minicamp. And there's a clear way to show a team that you are not happy with your contractual situation and you mean business. It is to not show up to training camp and incur the fines and everything that comes with it. The media firestorm, everything from the fans, all of that. CeeDee Lamb is doing all of it. So where are we with the CeeDee Lamb contract situation? Now, we did get some clarity with the Justin Jefferson contract situation. It's clear where the highest paid receiver is. 4 years, $35 million per year. Cowboys know that. The market is very clear. It's unclear right now if CeeDee Lamb is fighting to be the highest paid or whether he wants to be just under. And there's so much here. It's not just Is he the highest paid? It's also term. We saw Jefferson do a 4-year deal. Cowboys sometimes like longer deals. Where does that fit in with what CeeDee Lamb wants? There's so much here, but this we know. The Cowboys have faced many high-profile holdouts, from Zeke Elliott and most recently Zach Martin. Eventually, deals have got done. CeeDee Lamb, the Cowboys, and the fans hope that is eventually the case with this one as well.
So that is Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network detailing the CeeDee Lamb holdout. So now we have Trent Williams, Brandon Ayuk, CeeDee Lamb among the high-profile holdouts around the NFL at this point. Should be interesting to see who gets paid. Jordan Love also holding in at camp right now. So he is there and available, but not available because he's not practicing. But he's there taking all the sights and sounds, just waiting on a contract to get done. MB says, every time the Cowboys struggle, the world is a better place. I mean, listen, I'm 31 years old, and the Cowboys, I know that the Cowboys have won Super Bowls in my lifetime, but it was at the very start of my lifetime, and that memory is few and far between. The Cowboys have never mattered of consequence in my adult lifetime, certainly. So the amount of hype around them every year as somebody who's in my 30s. Now, it's not like I'm young anymore. I've got gray hair. You guys have seen me age. For the past day, primetime turns 6. As a matter of fact, on the Sunday night of week 1, it will be the anniversary of our first primetime show 6 years ago. How about that? I am interested to see. I'm interested to see how the Cowboys do this year, because the expectations seem pretty low for the lack of movement that they did, the lack of forward progress that could clearly be identified in their offseason strategy, right? I know they drafted offensive linemen, and they have a great history of successful drafts under Jerry Jones as the owner and general manager, and I know they have good people under Jerry doing the bulk of the legwork there, but it's not like they have struggled to get talent. It's just the Cowboys have never been anything but choking dogs in my lifetime. So I've always been confused about the level of hype around them. All right, that's going to do it for us tonight in the Primetime Show, on the Primetime Show. If you missed the conversation with Taj Spears, Titans running back, earlier today that we did on the radio show, I'll play you a quick snippet here because we had him on for a good 20 minutes. Taj, you want to talk about guys who are stepping into front-facing leadership roles? Taj Spears is among one of the more interesting ones. And I know Tony Pollard is here, and Tony Pollard is the more veteran, experienced, and proven player, frankly. But there is no question that Spears, Skoronski, Levis, those kind of guys are part of the foundational building blocks for this football team. So instead of an end-of-show funny video that we normally have for you guys, we will play for you a portion of that conversation with Taj Spears today. Check out the interview in its entirety on the Buck Rising Show podcast feed. Make sure you subscribe while you're there. Leave me 5 stars, a nice rating and review is always appreciated. Amani Hooker tomorrow, and it is just going to be we're going to talk to about 20 players live on the radio show while we do these training camp broadcasts. So have a great rest of your evening, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. live from Titans training camp. A franchise that has a really, really strong 4-deep running back room. If you're going Earl Campbell, Derrick Henry, Eddie George, and CJ 2K. CJ was on the show with us, what was that, last week, Lucas, I believe, talking about that same kind of mindset, that mantra, and how much pride each one of those dudes has taken in that. How cognizant are you of that?
You gotta be proudful. Like, just last year, like we, just being here with a legend like last year. So and Derrick Henry, like, and you see how he prepared, and you see how he attacked it, and like some of the conversations that that we had together, it was very like insightful on like how much confidence he had in me, and I'll tell him how much confidence I had in him. So like, you gotta be proudful, and like knowing that you're here and knowing that you actually can do it, it gives you another level of confidence. It gives you another boost, especially like hearing it from a guy that's doing it or did it. So you gotta be, you gotta respect the history. That's what we're doing.